Welcome to Going the Distance, the Rocky Series podcast. I am your host, Ryan, and with me, as always, is Katie and Kyle. How you guys doing?
Good morning. Good. How are you?
It's too early, Ryan.
Yes, for those listening to this podcast at a reasonable time, we are recording it very early on a Sunday morning. But it was agreed upon by all three of us. It was agreed upon, so I want to make that clear.
It was. I'm just complaining to complain.
No, it's my fault because I asked to move it. So sorry, Kyle.
I didn't even use substances last night or anything. I went to bed early like a good boy, and I'm still tired.
Good for you.
I don't know how I could do this hungover. I'm glad I made good decisions last night.
That's good. We're happy to have you here. We're happy that everyone's chipper and ready to go. They got their coffee running through their veins. Did you mix anything with yours, Katie?
I actually didn't. I'm kind of shocked I didn't because I ordinarily would. I'm trying a new, weekends are kind of my cheat, but I'm trying a new pretty strict, weight loss. I lost 6 pounds in 4 days.
Oh, wow.
I gained it all back, I'm sure, this weekend. So I'm like doing a really strict Monday through Thursday and then a little more lax on the weekends.
What is it that you're limiting, for example? Do you mind?
Well, I don't think I can continue this because it was really hard. Because I don't do moderation well. Like I'm an all or nothing person. So essentially I typically drink most days. Like I'll have a few glasses of wine at least. So no drinking and no food, just 2 like the Vega brand shakes a day. And that's it for 4 days. So it was like less than 400 calories a day, which is why why I lost 6 pounds. Because I really only wanted to lose 8 to 10. Yeah, so I'm almost there. But like I said, I probably gained at least 3 of them back this weekend because then on Friday I was like, oh my God, I need wine. Anyway, yeah.
There you go.
It's just a kickstart.
Well, good for you. And don't kill yourself, please. We need you.
I sprinkled a little bit of crack in my coffee.
Oh, good. Smart.
Yeah.
That's my drug of choice. If I ever become a drug user outside the military, it's going to be speed to keep me going.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's roll right into our emails. We have one new one, and this one is from your friend, I believe.
Oh, Kimmy. So she says, Ryan, happy sales to you. Safety first, muzzle awareness. Enjoy the experience. Watch your 6. I don't know. Yeah. So this is military speak, I take it.
Well, she said muzzle. What did she say? Muzzle on or something? Or
muzzle awareness? Safety first / muzzle awareness?
Muzzle awareness. Yeah, she's talking about the front part of the weapon. So make sure watch your arcs of fire so you don't point the weapon on a friendly person.
Ah, got it. Enjoy the experience. Watch your 6.
That means behind you. Clock 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 o'clock is behind you. So watch your back.
Got it. Yeah. Got it. She said, by the way, you'd mentioned basic training, and basic training was one of my favorite parts of the Army experience. Seriously, drill sergeants are some of the most amazing people I've ever met. I have so much respect for what they do, and they're all so witty and funny as heck.
That's true.
So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah. No. Yeah. But, yeah, I don't know if you guys were aware or not that Kim was in the Army.
So good for her. So did she serve for how long? Do you know, or...
Oh, gosh, she'll be mad at me. I don't know, a few years. Yeah. Like she went to Afghanistan or I think Afghanistan. Yeah, like she went after college. Like she went to college first. And then she was like, I'm going to do the Army. Like just kind of wanted to do it. A few years. She wasn't going to be like a lifer. She didn't want that as her career. But
she did the first contract. Yeah. Usually the first contract's anywhere. It depends on the trade and, of course, the country. But I know here in Canada it's about 3 or 5 years. It depends. I've heard anywhere from 3 to 5 years. So she probably did a 3-year contract. Yeah. So good for her. She did a tour in Afghanistan. Good for her.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service, Kim. It doesn't have to be 30 or 3 years. You signed on the dotted line. My grandpa actually had a really nice saying. He served a short time in the military, in the Navy as well, back in the day, back when times were the way they were in the world wars there. I forget the exact quote. Ruben knows it better than me. But my grandpa said he never gave his life to the country, but he signed to do so. He signed away to do so. So, like, he never died for his country, but you sign that contract that's what you're willing to do.
Yeah.
That's on the table now. Yeah. Once you sign, that's a possibility. Yeah.
Which is a huge sacrifice. Yeah. And so everybody, yeah.
This isn't on me. Look, I'm wonderful. Everyone think Ryan's wonderful. No,
it's something I know to think about.
All my training is designed to defend my life or to defend the ship. And it's a weird thought. At the end of the day, I'm training for that thing.
Yeah. That is kind of crazy. Yeah.
All right.
So Kim goes on to say, note to Greg the First, don't worry about your emails being outdated. I enjoy them. And I know Ryan, Kyle, and Katie do too. Also, look at me. I haven't even seen the shows and they still read my emails. Oh, I like how you challenge the Sly Forever crew too. Though I agree with them on the entire sentiment toward MBJ. Keep swinging, Kim. She had already provided a 5-star iTunes review, and it looks like she tried to add a second one.
Yeah, I guess.
And they wouldn't let her.
That's new, I think. That might be new, because I listened to a couple of their podcasts. I listen to a lot of podcasts, but I've listened to a couple where they'll read their reviews from their listeners. Some of their listeners have done multiple reviews, like this was in the past. They'll say that, oh, this is from so-and-so again. It's nice that they've given us another review. I wonder if iTunes or Apple Podcasts has stopped that from being able to be done, because that's what Kim is saying. She was unable to leave an additional review under her iTunes account. Like, it forces you to leave one per show.
Yeah, I don't know.
You can only edit your review. You can't add it.
Yeah, so she edited. Yeah, I have an Android phone, and so I use Stitcher for that's how I listen to podcasts. So I'm unfamiliar with the whole iTunes process. But anyway, she says update as of 4/13/21. iTunes won't let me leave multiple reviews. I click write a review and it just brings up the review I wrote a long time ago. In any case, I tried keep swinging Kim the First. So that was her addition to her already 5-star review. So everybody out there, like, give us a review. Kim tried to do it twice, and
yeah, it's amazing.
So yeah,
she's one of our best listeners, and she hasn't even watched the frickin' movie.
She's watched the first 4 now, and I told her that she has to rewatch Rocky 4 with me because I need her to come on my side with Dolph Lundgren.
She should just watch. This should be interesting. This would actually be an interesting challenge to you, Kim, because you're in a unique position. Because Creed 2 is strictly, or not strictly, it's in many ways a direct sequel to Rocky 4.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe she should just watch Creed 2, because now she's got the audiobook version that she talks about for Creed Part 1. She could probably just roll right into Creed 2 and just watch it. So I'd actually be curious just to have her watch Creed 2 as a sequel to Rocky 4.
Good.
I guess you just have to explain the fact that Rocky's not immensely rich anymore.
Oh,
if you go from 4 to Creed 2, right?
Well, she's listening to the show, so she knows that, right? So she's listening to.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So she knows all the she knows all the plot points. She knows that Rocky runs a restaurant, that Adrian's dead, that.
Yeah.
I would say watch Creed 2. I would love to hear her experience. So Kim, there you go. Watch Creed 2. Actually, you're gonna have to tell her offline to do that, because this will be ahead in the future. So. Sooner than later, because then she won't hear too many more spoilers. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's.
Thanks, Kim.
Yeah, thank you, Kim. Yeah, sorry. Thank you, Kim. You're awesome. I can see why you're friends with Katie. Good. Was it birds of a feather flock together? So there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Let's read part 2 of Sequel's email, the gigantuan email that he sent us. Let's start with part 2.
This is a continuation of ridiculously long email on my Creed PTSD. From Seiko. And so he goes on to say Drago in Rocky 4 at the start of the final round, when his entire audience cheered for his opponent, only waited to go to the end, to go the distance with his enemy, who he now respected. He became the lone underdog in the last round, and Rocky, draped in the stars and stripes, now became the political instrument, giving a cringe-inducing political speech. If Stone makes a cut in that movie, I hope it's that platitude-filled slurred ramble at the end. Agreed. It shouldn't have been about nationalism, but Apollo and the last scene should have been at Creed's gravestone. Instead, the two characters became juxtaposed. A great premise.
Did we read that?
I think we read it.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like we did. Yeah, now that I'm...
Okay.
And then he talks about Muhammad Ali for a bit, and then... or maybe he already did.
He already did it as well, but that's okay. Oh, that's okay. It's a good refresher, because we said that's actually a great idea. It would have been a great ending had they ended. Rocky kind of goes to the grave and says, like, it is finished. We are done. I've avenged your loss to the ring and all that's in life. But
it is odd watching that movie when you're not American, right? Because it's like you don't have that same nationalistic fervor that probably the American audience would have. So it's like, it's not as appealing.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about that before. Really good point. I mean, there is issues with Russia still now. Actually, a lot more stuff keeps coming out. At that time, Russia was like the thing. in 1985 or whatever for America.
Sure. Yeah.
For America. So I don't know if that was unique to us or if the rest of the world felt similarly.
It was like East versus West in many ways, right? So it's like Canada, for example, or the Netherlands where Seiko's from would have been firmly on the U.S.'s side as opposed to the Soviet Union. So it's not like they would necessarily sympathize with Drago's side. All that stars and stripes, flag waving, stuff like that, that's kind of more of an American thing, right? I'm not judging that. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's different.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah.
The patriotism is not quite the same. Like it's expressed differently. So it's like, it's not as appealing, all the flag stuff.
Yeah, I remember watching it. I remember watching it. I remember that film. I think when I watched that film, it's more of just the idea of freedom than the U.S. country as a whole. But the idea that Rocky is given a freedom type speech. If Russia can change, or if we can all change, we can all just be nicer people. I look at it more of a personal choice of changing than just a political.
True.
Okay, so now he goes on. We'll read the next paragraph here.
Yep. This film, Creed 2, should therefore have been called Drago. Alas, the entire plot follows beats from Rocky 3 and 4, a typical Hollywood way of plagiarizing itself by taking whole plot elements that have made money in the past and cut-pasting them in something new. The only original and enjoyable elements in Creed 2, aside from Master Yoda Rocky, are when we follow the path of the Dragos, what men they are, surviving on their talent and wits despite the shitty hand they have been dealt, suffering because their family is broken, suffering for the choices the father made in the heat of a politically laden sports event when he lived under intense pressure to perform, blamed perhaps justly because he followed orders and beat Apollo to death to make a point to America and the world. We will break you. Drago was its enforcer. So here the discarded, broken Soviet tool is in the Ukraine, where everyone who can't hack it in Russia end up circling the drain. Yet, what a specimen the son is. Doing a push-up battle rope exercise. Have you seen him do that? A ballistic push-up so powerful, the momentum allows you to pound the ropes before returning to the floor. I've done them after numerous failed attempts, and believe me, they are hard. Harder even than the dragon flags Stallone does in Rocky 4. Oh, is that what those are called?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Florian Munteanu is a great cast, and you can tell Dolph Lundgren enjoyed working with him. Dolph Lundgren's acting saves this movie and saves Victor from looking like another Tommy Gunn in many ways, though Tommy's performance in Rocky 5 is underrated and suffered from poor editing choices. Yet, I digress.
Okay, what a lot to unpack there. Boy, that was well said, though.
True. The exercise he was talking about, the rope, have we gotten to that yet? Doing a push-up battle rope exercise. Okay, so we'll talk about that when we get to it, I guess. But I didn't.
A little scene there, yeah.
Yeah. The dragon flags that Stallone does in Rocky 4, I didn't know that that's what that was called. Is that the sit-up on the bench?
I think it must
where
be.
He's like goes
hanging
like
from like the top floor or the top, I'm going to say rafter, although it's not the right word, of the barn.
Either that or he's on a bench, and there's two of them. I don't know which one is which, but both are incredibly impressive. Yeah, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, he looks great.
And Dolph is good. I think we talked about that. Maybe that episode hasn't come out yet, but we kind of talked about how Dolph said that he thought that Florian was doing a good job. And that clearly came across in the movie, as Seiko's pointing out, that he thinks Dolph enjoyed working with him. And I don't think that Victor would have been a Tommy Gunn, though.
No, I don't.
Type character without Dolph.
Yeah, I would say he's unlikable in this film.
No.
And honestly, though, I'm not sold on Dolph Lundgren's acting in Creed. I'm not saying he did a poor job. Honestly, didn't really stand out to me. Like the idea that saved the movie, I've only seen the movie twice. So, maybe watching it again, I might think differently.
Yeah, we'll have to pay attention.
I don't agree with that sentiment.
And I think Victor, I don't think that he was poor in any way either. Like, I thought he did a good job.
Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did a good job. We talked about that, where we feel he hasn't got enough roles handed to him since that performance. Mm-hmm. All right, we'll read the next one for sure.
Okay. The Dragos have their own story arc, and it's so tragic that when the challenge for the title is issued, the three of us were already cheering for Victor Drago to win, especially because of the insipid way Donnie started stomping his foot to get the pointless and strange revenge match. Why? What motivates Baby Creed? Why does he have the need to beat up some more on the Dragos? Haven't they suffered enough? Not for Johnny come lately Creed, they haven't. It's perfectly understandable why the Dragos want the match. They don't have a pot to piss in, and Victor wants the respect of his father and the love of his mother, or vice versa. You can't convey everything with physical acting, but to say Munteanu does a great job emoting is an understatement. No one in that horrible town will ever appreciate these nuances in someone that muscle-bound. But we all know what Hollywood is, don't we? The place where art goes to die. Know who they reward with director's chairs is the guy who wears all the plot armor. What is the motivation for Donnie to fight Victor? So I guess in this paragraph, he's saying that Florian did do a good job. He's right about this like being kind of the Drago movie, and that they very much have motivation to want the fight. We see their struggle, but Donnie and Rocky don't know that. It's not like they've seen what we've seen. So they have no idea what their life is. And they shouldn't really give it a second thought, because despite Drago being forced in some ways to be this fighting machine, he did kill Donnie's dad and Rocky's best friend. So, I mean, that's understandable why they would. And it's like, well, he's now the champion. Dudes like that aren't going to be like, no, I'm not going to take the fight. He's going to be hounded forever until he takes the fight, even if he didn't want to.
Yeah, one thing I like about Creed's character, I shouldn't say character, but just his career, is he doesn't duck anyone, or it's not like Rocky 3 when he was taking the easy matches. He'll take that hard match.
Good point.
Well, Rocky didn't know that they were easy matches.
I understand.
Or you could even argue that he was afraid. I don't think Donnie's ever been afraid, has he? At least not on the surface, or he's admitted it on screen. I'll
say this about Rocky, though. Rocky never questioned why the matches were so easy. He was just like, all right, let's do this.
He thought he was just awesome.
I wonder if Mickey was Adonis's trainer, same personality and everything else and observations. If Adonis would have clued and said to Mickey, why are these fights so easy? I wonder if that question would have been posed.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good point.
Even after Adonis, what happens in the first fight with Victor, he's got to go for that second one. When he said revenge match in the email, I don't know if he was referring to the first fight to avenge his father or the second fight. I'm not sure what he meant by that.
We'll break down our own thoughts when we get to those scenes, but it's just, we'll read the next two paragraphs and I'll be in the part 2.
Okay. In Creed 1, Donnie would have shook Yvonne's hand for killing Apollo, but no, his reason is because Donnie spent an entire movie hating. What happened in that's so
he's basically saying here that the character of Adonis in Creed Part 1 would have said thanks for killing my dad, because it put him on a career path of being a champion of the world, so to speak, or soon to be. So it's kind of a mean way of saying thanks for killing my dad, because now I have this life that I probably wouldn't have had otherwise.
What happened in between Creed 1 and 2? He suddenly had a change of heart? It makes no sense. It's also a title fight that defies all rules. Victor is a super heavyweight, and skinny little Donnie is a welter. Well, I don't know about that. There's a reason for weight classes, and so ends suspension of my disbelief. We did talk about that. Yeah, we did talk about that.
Yeah.
I just must. That didn't come out. Did that come out yet? Or?
No, this is where. Not the problem, but this is just the nature of the emails and the recording sessions. But yes, we have addressed that, and we understand that Sequel didn't hear us.
But not at the time he wrote this, Donnie doesn't lose his title because Victor gets disqualified. Really? We suffer through a boring and predictable subplot with the child who is hereditarily deaf, and we see the failed champion just sulk on the bottom of his pool. If you don't like Donnie, it won't have the Rocky 3 effect, people. You don't feel relief when he comes out of catharsis. You feel foreboding that the wrong guy is going to win for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I get what he's saying, and it's interesting. Yeah, I don't want to say too much more regarding the results of the fights, because we'll talk about those. So I don't want to say too much, but I do want to respond to his email, because I don't want to repeat ourselves when we get to those parts of the movie. I do recall, without giving away anything, I feel weird about Adonis's victory at the end of the film. It's an odd feeling. It's weird. I think that's because of what was said in the email, and I think in general, this is the Drago story. I was conflicted, but maybe that's a sign of a good movie. That's why I like it so much, is because I'm not rooting against Victor.
Well, yeah, I don't want to, because we'll talk about this when we get to the end of the fight. There's different emotions that you have because we were shown the backstory of the Dragos, and we have compassion for them now. I guess we'll talk about that when we get to it.
To me, that's the biggest weakness by far. of the film is that the Dragos in many ways are more likable than the Creeds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which Nico pointed out, right?
Yep.
And so it is weird. Usually there's the good guy, bad guy thing, and that's not realistic, right? Like in life, there's no good guy or bad guy per se.
Gray in a way. We're all kind of gray.
Yeah. Victor Drago, it's hard to fault him. Like, what did he do wrong for anything?
He didn't do anything wrong. That's the thing. Victor is actually we'll talk about his first match against Adonis. He probably did, he got disqualified for a good reason, but I don't think that makes him a bad person. He probably just saw red, when you got your adrenaline flowing, and we'll get there. So that's a great discussions. Again, we're kind of handcuffed because we don't want to talk too much about it, or else we're going to be talking about the whole film, which defeats us talking about the film when we get to those parts in the film. So thank you, Siegel. We'll read your final part 3 in our next episode. And with that, we're going to now get into the film. This is an interesting sequence coming up soon. We just finished Rocky at Adrian's gravesite, and we're going to move into the next sequence. Okay, that sequence there is so amazing. There's so much to talk about. Okay.
Good movie making.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Okay, for our listening audience, just so we have to speak to them really quickly here. So what happened here, of course, is that amazing sequence of Victor and Drago are in Philly. It just blows your mind a little bit. Like, they're in Philadelphia, the character of Drago and his son Victor, they're in Philly. Not only are they in Philly, of course, they're at the Philadelphia Art Museum, where the Rocky statue is at the bottom of the stairs. People are taking photos, lined up to take photos. And then they go up the steps, and they see people running up the steps and doing the Rocky jump at the end. They kind of look at each other. You see Drago, Ivan, taking in the scenery, looking where his nemesis has looked over the city. And it's just and he's just so stoic. It's weird. It's almost like having Luke Skywalker on the Death Star. He doesn't belong there. What's this guy doing here? You got the enemy right in, home territory, right at the center of the base.
I love how that scene told you so much without anyone saying anything. That's the best part about it. You just know. It's great. That is an excellent scene. I would love to know, though, what he's thinking. You have an idea of what he could be thinking. Some of the things I think of trying to put myself in his shoes is, firstly, what a different environment that is to where he's from. Just the wealth and just such a nicer area than what we see in like his part of Ukraine.
That's telling you something when Philly's nicer than another place.
Well, there's parts of Philly that are worse than where he's from. I took a train to Philadelphia, and part of my train went through North Philly, and there was places there where I'm like, that doesn't look habitable.
Really?
Yeah. I was just like, what? I'm like, people couldn't live there. Like, it just burnt out or just trashed. You're like, yeah, there's places that look way worse than what you see the Dragos live in. But this is like the museum right by, not too far from downtown. This is like this is like where the face of Philadelphia, the nice face of it. Right. And so it's like you see all this wealth. You see all these people imitating Rocky running up the steps. You see Rocky statues. It's like Rocky has all this stuff, all the glory and respect that he doesn't have, that he lost when he lost against Apollo. And also I wonder, it's like, okay, this is where this guy's been. Drago thinking that, right? I'm seeing things through his eyes. This is his thing. Like I'm learning something about this guy I fought, because presumably Drago wouldn't have known a lot about Rocky when they fought, other than the fact he was a champion and his statistics and stuff. He probably had no idea what Rocky's background was, anything, because information being restricted in the Soviet Union. Victor's kind of just a prop in that scene, I think. Like, this is all Ivan Drago.
True. I fully agree. And just to kind of piggyback on what you were saying, Kyle, before they climb to the steps at the bottom, like that opening scene is like, they're here, they're watching all these tourists, how big of a deal Rocky is. Like, there is a statue of this man, and he's so beloved. His country, his city loves him so much. In contrast, what happened to Ivan, that he was like pushed out of Russia and this massive failure because he lost a fight, like a single fight. And the camera, the way once they climbed the steps, They're looking over the city. The camera's behind them. So that was a great scene. And also I loved that Yvonne. So this is, I think, good acting on Dolph's part. He maintains the Drago Yvonne like soldier-esque posture, the way he holds his head and everything was still that soldier stance. I don't think that's just how Dolph stands. Do you know what I mean? How
that was
far back he held his head. Yeah.
He seemed very robotic in Rocky IV.
Mm-hmm.
Like he almost wasn't human.
Right.
Where here you see his face, and he does have the stoic soldier type of stance, but he seems much more human to me.
I think that was part of the deal with Rocky. He was supposed to seem like a robot.
Yeah, of course.
Of course. Yeah. Great scene.
Yeah, it's a great scene, and I think what we're led to believe that Drago is probably at least feeling, if not thinking, is he's a hero. Rocky's a hero in his home country, and I'm a failure. Mm-hmm. And, that one fight determined everything. I would have told Drago, I would have said, dude, just so you know, that statue was made before he fought you, just so you know. And the other thing, too, of note here, as of yesterday, it was on Twitter, some verified Twitter persons, they had the blue check mark. I forget her name because she's not important, even though she's verified. She's from Philly. I forget what her... She's like some sort of whatever person in Philly. And she made the snide comment. Of course, she didn't respond to my comment because I think I actually dropped the mic on her a little bit. Because she basically said... actually, if I could find it fast enough. Oh, right here. So she made the comment... this tweet was deleted by the author. She got comments and I responded and people retweeted my comment and liked my comment that she was tagged in, and she deleted her tweet. So her original tweet, if I remember correctly, was
wow.
Yeah, but I got my response, so I'll read that because that's not deleted. But her original tweet was something to the effect of like, why do people spend hours lining up to take a picture with the Rocky statue when he's not a real person? And why don't they have a statue of Rocky Marciano? It's insane to me, she says. She goes, it's insane to me. So my response was, it's not that insane, really. Rocky Marciano, though an accomplished boxer, has not inspired millions of people worldwide like the Rocky franchise has. If Marciano had, then there'd be a statue of him. You might not agree with people's fandom, but you being confused by it is actually insane to me.
That was perfect, Ryan.
That was a very good response.
I almost started off with my first response going to be something to the effect like people line up for hours to watch the newest Avengers film premiere. And Avengers aren't even real. They're fantastical people. So why is it insane that people line up to be a part of something that's... But what I love about the Rocky statue, beyond Mickey Mouse, beyond the Avengers, beyond Comic-Cons or all this other stuff, this figure, fictional figure, has inspired people to be better. It's not just fandom. Yeah. They've actually inspired you to try harder, to go the distance, to meet your personal best. You can't say Iron Man does that. He might be fun to watch. He might be exciting to watch on screen. But does anyone go, you know what? I'm going to be a better person, or I'm going to go work out or meet my personal best because I watched Spider-Man?
And to me, this is just an extension of the seeing Rocky as a sports movie versus an inspirational story. Yeah. Like she probably sees Rocky as a sports movie, so it's like, why are you prioritizing a fictitious athlete against a real athlete? And Ryan, I think he did a great job of pointing out that it's not about athletics; it's about inspiration. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There is a legitimate complaint that there isn't a Joe Frazier statue in Philadelphia because Joe Frazier was one of the best. He's not the best of all time, but he's up there. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. He's a Philadelphia fighter. There should be a statue of him somewhere. But like Ryan said, Joe Frazier hasn't inspired people like this film has.
I mean, we could go on and on about who should have a statue and but the point is, I mean, it was, and I'll just say she maybe hasn't seen the movies, and that's maybe why she doesn't get it. I still get annoyed when people, like even my friends that jokingly make fun of me because I love Sylvester Stallone and the Rocky series so much. I think a lot of people have these assumptions about Stallone that are just not true. And I try to point them out. But if you haven't seen him act and you just see him this big, similar to what Sika was saying about Florian, people don't really take seriously these muscly dudes. And just really good looking people, you assume they're dumb, or
that's what people always say about
you know
me.
what I mean?
They think I'm stupid.
Yeah. You know what I mean, though? It's like, well, yeah, there's a stereotypes sometimes. I mean, there's a reason there's stereotypes and sometimes they're true, but anywho.
I actually wasn't even trying to quote unquote shame her, but part of me was just so frustrated. Like, why are you confused about fandom? Like, why is that confusing?
No, you brought up a good point. You didn't insult her. You didn't have a low blow. You stated your opinion on the matter very frankly and politely. And
all right, let's continue with the movie. I think we got a Donnie and Bianca coming up here. Oh, he's driving Daddy's car now.
Oh, you got a Stang back. I never noticed that.
You've been a hype ever since you got this joint.
What you talking about?
That's mine right there. You're cheesing.
It's the only thing my pops left me. I mean, that. In his hands.
So you missed that, Kyle. So he mentions right there that the car was donated to Adonis, I guess. Or I guess Marianne had the car and Marianne gave it to Adonis?
Yeah, which is weird of saying my pops left it for me. I really doubt in his will and testament, he's like, to my unborn child in infidelity, I leave you this Mustang.
Yeah, that's unlikely, but it works for the movie. They're also in front of Max's, the same place they went on their date, like their first date. Oh. That's where they rolled up to, and he calls the car a Jean.
Well, she did. She says, you've been grinning.
Oh, she did.
Yeah, you've been grinning, or I've been so happy since you got this Jean. So again, the Jean being used for anything. This car. Jean. Let's go now order some Jeans and go sit down at our Jean, and we'll talk about how we did today during our Jean. Again, that's an example of, we knew what she was referring, it works, so we knew she was referring to the car, but she just called it Jean. So kind of a throwback to Creed Part 1 again, with the Jean talk. Again, a direct sequel to both two films, which makes it a unique, interesting film. We're directly referring, I love it when they do callbacks to previous films in a series, because it feels like a series. You know, they're really saying little subtle things to previous stuff.
Plus, it makes you feel special when you're in the know.
That's right. Nerds, Easter eggs.
You never told me that. So what you in these secrets though?
So again, another callback. So she's saying, you never told me this was your dad's car? She thought that Mustang was a personal item of Adonis's, just because that's something that Adonis owned. So he just told her right there for the first time, this car means a lot to me because it used to be my dad's car. And then she says, oh, you never told me that. What's up with all these secrets? And another callback to Creed Part 1 where she never told Bianca about Apollo being his dad, and she was upset about that. So that's another, like, a lot of callbacks to the first film in that 2-second sequence. So yeah, they're going to the cheesesteak little cafe, and there's a crowd of people there cheering on the new champ. Nice little moment, I guess, there. Those people would have been taking out their phones and everything. They were being very polite about just clapping. Phones would have been out. Pictures would have been taken. Can I get a picture with you, champ? But they were very polite.
I agree the phones would have been out. People don't care as much about the heavyweight championship in boxing as much anymore compared to the Rocky days. Like if you went on the street and asked someone who's the heavyweight champion right now,
Adonis.
Well, the problem is there's multiple ones because there's so many belts.
Yeah, that's the confusing thing now. Yeah,
but it's to be like, oh yeah, him. Oh yeah, Tyson Fury. Oh yeah, that's right. Shit, I can't even remember his name now.
That's true.
The British guy.
Yeah, celebrities a lot. It's spread out a lot now. There's a lot of celebrities. So that's a good point. I saw this. I think it might have not. Well, it wasn't Philly, but I'm not a football watcher. But I saw the video and I had the video explained to me. But this football player was at a bar, like very famous football. I mean, obviously on an NFL team. I think it was like the star quarterback or something like that, or a star player on the team, if not a member of the team. And the guy at the bar was wearing his jersey. And the guy went up to him and said, I like that guy. He's a good player. And the guy's like, yeah. And that was the guy right there. And the guy wearing his jersey didn't recognize he was talking to the player of the jersey he was wearing. And it was, I'll see if I can find it and send you guys offline. But it's just like, yeah, I'm the guy. But he didn't even tell the guy. He just walked out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder.
I've also heard when people do meet celebrities in real life, sometimes they just look different.
Yeah.
Because they'd have their makeup off, let's say, or they're not. Yeah. That you just look different seeing people live than. I'm sure when we see each other, we might all think. For example, Katie, you're much shorter than I thought you were.
Oh, really?
If you were to ask me your height 2 recordings ago, I would have said you're 5'8".
That's tall. Like, you thought I was tall?
You look tall in your pictures. You look tall. I don't know. Not tall, but you don't look like a.
Sorry, how tall are you, Katie?
I'm 5'5", which is taller than average. Average for America, I think, is 5'3" or 4 or something.
5'4". Like, my wife's 5'4", and that's average height for a female in North America.
You seem taller to me.
Yeah.
It's weird. You seem like a.
Well, good. I'm glad I seem tall. Yeah, I don't know.
So that surprised me.
I try to stand up straight.
That's like I always seem shorter to people than I am. People are just like, you're like 5'9" or.
I think you and I are the same height, Kyle. I think you and I are exactly the same height.
It is funny.
I'm 6 feet.
Yeah, me too. Well, I'm 6 feet with shoes on, is what I say.
Well, I'm shrunk actually. Yeah, when I was 18, I was slightly over 6 feet. I think technically now I'm slightly under.
I've shrunk as well.
Shrink. Yeah, I think I am shorter than I was 20 years ago. Yeah.
When you meet someone out of context, like if it's kind of startling or you're unprepared for it, and so your brain has, or my brain anyway, like if I didn't know that you guys were like coming to Denver and all of a sudden I like saw you here, I'd be like, what the is going on here?
Yeah. I think when we meet each other for the first time, we should be nude and then everything will be out of context.
Like that show, Kyle. That show.
Oh yeah, Naked Attraction.
I forgot about
you guys watched that? You looked that up?
I looked it up. I saw it on Reddit. I don't know if I can watch it, but I did see the premise and a couple clips. And like, I can't believe this is happening. Okay. All right, let's get into here we go. This is the scene we've been waiting for.
How you doing? Hey, Isabel.
Hey, Rob. Hey, listen, some big guy is sitting over there waiting for you. He said you'll know who he is.
West Coast.
Oh, okay. Cutting back to the. Yeah.
He knows it's Drago, right?
I was going to ask. I don't think he does at that point because the back. I think Drago's back is turned to Rocky at the table. Are we led to believe at that moment Rocky really knows it's Drago sitting at the table? Because that's what 30 plus years later you have this guy sitting in your diner. I don't know.
He's been on TV because like right now, well, we're going to see the TV scene, right? Right, like just now, we're Drago and Victor in the press conference thing with what's his face, the producer, not the producer, the promoter.
Rocky doesn't watch TV. He doesn't have his phone. He doesn't have a cell phone. He wouldn't have seen any of the social media stuff.
He watches TV, doesn't he? I'm not saying social media, but
this happened like after. I think the TV scene was happening while Rocky was in the restaurant. They're happening at the same time. Like Donnie and Bianca are in the bar watching the TV while Rocky is in the restaurant.
Sorry, I just realized I'm thinking of the scene. I believe in the scene, Drago surprised Rocky doesn't know about his son. Yeah, never mind. So he wouldn't have seen that on TV now that I think about it.
I think he's like, what the heck? Who is that? Yeah, I think he's confused.
He sees a big guy. I think he sees a big guy at the table. Yeah. And for all he knows, it could be Tommy Gunn, with that backside and hair. Like, it could be Tommy Gunn. Because all you see is the backside and light-colored hair. But now, we're back at a bar. And some guy at the bar is like, hey, champ, you got to check this out. There's something on TV that's on the news. So, yeah, here we go.
Fight, man. Shut this dude up.
Really still talking shit? Still early for a rematch, bro.
Hey, turn the TV up.
So Donnie thinks it's about a rematch, but it's not. It's a new match. Okay, so they're intercutting between the two sequences. So Donnie's, of course, is about to see that it's not a rematch with Wheeler that's on the news. It's something else. And now Rocky's slowly walking towards this figure sitting at the table.
I didn't remember this. Now that we're like watching it cut by cut, that was a really unique, again, this is just a better made movie, unique way of telling that story. It pops back and forth between Rocky and Yvonne and Donnie watching the thing on TV, like
how both the Dragos are entering these people's lives, how they're doing.
Yeah.
So Dragos come into the diner to talk to Rocky. That's their introduction, like reintroduction, so to speak. And now Donnie is seeing the Dragos too. So the Dragos have invaded Philly, and they're both seeing what this means to them at the same time. Yeah.
We're seeing Rocky's perspective, and we're seeing Drago's back. Now, Ryan or Katie, if I were to meet one of you at a restaurant somewhere and you got there first, would you sit like that with your back turned to the door?
You would want to watch.
Or would you turn around because you'd want to see when I come in But it's like, I think that he did this intentionally, or whoever wrote this, but I'm just going to be in the Rocky universe and say that he did this intentionally. Rocky has to come to him. Rocky has to discover it's him, I guess, if he doesn't know already. He knows Rocky will come see him. Like, this is kind of, to me, Drago's way of like taking control of the situation, like not seeming like desperate or something. Like, if you're facing the doorway, it's like, oh, hey, look, it's me. It's Ivan.
Good
We
point.
can see each other in a while.
And Rocky
But it's like
runs
he
away.
set this up so Rocky has to turn around and see him and come face to face. And I don't know. That was good thinking on his part.
They're the only people in the restaurant as well. Like the restaurant's closed, or is that?
I think we're led to believe it's closing time or it's opening time. Either way, because the hostess is still there, but it's empty right now. Yeah.
I wonder how many times they asked him if he like wants water or something to drink or eat, or it's like, why are you in this restaurant?
What does he eat? What does he drink?
Yeah, he probably just said, "I'm here to see Rocky." I wonder if he said, I'm an old friend, or will you go back a ways or something? He'll know me when he sees me.
Yeah.
You.
So right there, so he didn't know him at all from the backside, but he sees him. He's like, that's you? That's a great way of asking, like, well, it is me. I don't know who you think I am, but I am me. But Rocky's legitimately like, whoa, why are you here? That you? For real? Like 30 years plus 33 years later, you're here?
And I don't think he's ever actually spoken to Drago ever. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but like Drago said to him, I must break you. But I don't think Rocky in any of the films has said a word to Drago.
Good point. That was their first.
Did he even? The good point too. But I was like, he has a tendency in fights to say, "Come on, you ain't so bad," like stuff like that.
Tripping in the ring, fair. But this is the first outside of the ring film sequence that we've seen on film. Yeah, good point. Both. I'd have to go back to the Rocky IV fight, but don't forget Rocky when he gave a speech about everyone can change. He was speaking to everybody, Drago included.
Yes. There's a certain intimacy about fighting someone too, right?
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
Kind of get to know someone. Like you're very close to them and you know, there's a lot of unspoken communication. So in many ways they have spoken to each other, but then they've never actually verbally spoken to each other. Like in reality, this is the first time they're really like meeting.
And
they've been in a war, these two.
That's right.
Yeah.
Nice pictures.
Yeah, okay.
No pictures of me.
No, there's no pictures of that. Why in Philly?
Of course, we had to talk about the how he compliments the photos. He says there's no pictures of me. With Drago by pointing that out, he must know why that is, but he puts Rocky in the position of explaining why.
Rocky didn't sit down. He's still standing, which is interesting.
It speaks to the fact that it's a confrontational conversation. Rocky's still not comfortable with the fact that he's in the restaurant and is not comfortable being in a dialogue with him. Like, it's not like they're old friends catching up.
He doesn't like confrontation. He doesn't like uncomfortable. He doesn't like this whole idea. He's not enjoying this.
And then I wonder what Drago's thinking about the pictures not being there. I wonder how that makes him feel. Because on the one sense, it could be like feeling like he's left out. There's all these other fights, but you leave me out. Like I'm further erased from memory because he probably feels very forgotten in the former Soviet Union. But then on the other hand, there isn't pictures of his defeat there. He's down in the ring and Rocky's wrapped in the flag. I don't know. There's kind of two competing things there.
Well, I think Rocky doesn't. The character Rocky, that's not a fight that was a victory. It was such a painful experience. He lost the belt to the commission.
Oh, I understand. I just wonder what Drago's reaction to that is, right? Like from Drago's perspective, I wonder if he likes the idea that there's no pictures of him there or doesn't.
But yeah, that his victory over Rocky in a sense was that Rocky can't even address that fight. Like even though it was a victory in the ring, it was an emotional loss. Then Drago will always have that emotional victory over Rocky.
That's a good point.
And also, I wonder if Rocky resents the fact that Drago essentially ended his career, like the beating that he gave Rocky.
Don't spoil it. We got that part coming up. Where he
handicapped him, right? Like,
yeah, that's a great part coming up. Okay, let's keep going. I love this scene.
No, there's no pictures of that. Why in Philly?
You don't know.
Ukrainian boxer Viktor Drago appeared today in Philadelphia to issue a very public challenge to recently crowned heavyweight champion Adonis Creed. A press conference was held earlier by boxing promoter Buddy Marcel.
We came all the way to Philly to let you know it's serious. Now, this man here, he ain't no damn boy. And let's be honest, Creed fought him 3 years too late anyway. Easy bags.
People in this country love you.
There's the sequence where the promoter gives his selling point that Adonis hears, which actually kind of answers the question of what did Adonis have to fight, which goes to what Kyle was saying, that Adonis has never turned down a challenge. So already we've got the promoter spinning the story, Buddy spinning the story of, first and foremost, Danny Wheeler was not in his prime anymore. So time beat Danny Wheeler, as we've heard before in the Creed films. So Danny Wheeler wasn't at his prime. Adonis just happened to be the young 28-year-old coming in and beating the older 35-year-old Wheeler. That's the insinuation. Of course, that's going to hit his pride. It's like, no, I am the champion. What are you talking about? I beat this guy. I'm the champ. I'll fight anyone, anytime, anywhere. That's where we are with that. That's an interesting little segue, too, when Ivan Drago said to Rocky, you don't know? Like, you don't know why we're here? You haven't seen the news? And then we see as an audience the very thing that Drago is saying, you don't know, and now we've caught up to what.
That was the perfect way of, instead of Drago explaining it to Rocky, they cut to the press conference. It was just, again, I love this movie because we bring back the monstrous opponent. Mm-hmm. Did you guys see when Florian had his arms on the table like this? His arms are like the size of my entire body. Weren't you guys like wowed by that?
No,
like,
he's a beast for real. And that little sequence there too in the news conference where it showed Victor punching his opponent. It's that quick little punch just drops that guy. Like, boom. You just see this power of this creature that's going to challenge Adonis to a fight. Yeah. Drago says,
people in this country love you. But Russia, no one touched Drago name. Everything changed that night.
Hey, look, that's like 1,000,000 years ago.
Like yesterday to me.
So you came all the way over here to tell me that?
It's no coincidence that Ivan Drago's son shows up right after Apollo Creed's son claims the belt.
This is Creed versus Drago. This is the fight the whole world wants to see. And this is the fight he should take. Unless he's afraid of history repeating itself.
That history being the infamous 1985 match in which boxing legend Apollo Creed was killed by Russian fighter Ivan Drago. Apollo's trainer Rocky Balboa was heavily criticized for failing to stop that fight.
Okay, so there's a lot to take in here. Forgot how much information is in this scene. So that announcer the news reporter says that Rocky has been criticized for failing to stop the fight. Now we've mentioned, like, why is it all on Rocky's shoulders? Why does the ref get no blame for? Isn't it his job to police the fight?
Yes, it is primarily the ref's job. The ref should be the one who's mostly criticized. Rocky could have thrown in the towel, but even if Rocky throws in the towel, the ref still has to stop it.
In Rocky IV, they didn't really talk about that. There was no mention of Rocky being criticized for not throwing the towel.
Yeah, they're just showing that in the world of Rocky, this has been happening. This was an issue that's been lingering with Rocky's his reputation has been tarnished a little bit, that he could have thrown the towel or should have thrown the towel. He's still loved, but that's something he can't.
I guess I feel like they're trying to make up for the lack of Rocky IV. I feel like in some ways people were like, why did Rocky feel like it was his job? It was, to some people, I think, hard to understand at the time in 1985, watching Rocky IV, like, why did he give up his title? Like, why did he feel it's so necessary to take this fight in Russia, give up his belt or whatever?
Maybe the Rocky IV director cut will show this. Who knows?
It was, exactly. I think that was like a mistake that they didn't show that he was heavily criticized or whatever. So there was a lot of leave it to yourself to believe what was in Rocky's head. So here, I think they're taking the opportunity to correct that potentially by saying Rocky was heavily criticized, blah, blah, blah.
If they showed the heavy criticism in the fourth film, it may imply that Rocky was avenging Creed to satisfy people rather than, I think Rocky felt just on a personal level and that he has to now make this right. Mm-hmm. With Creed, to just kind of, I think what they're saying is it goes without saying that he would have been criticized because we know Rocky feels that way, but now it's confirmed that kind of everyone else does too. I'm surprised Rocky and Tony didn't have a falling out in Rocky IV over that.
I know.
Maybe Tony thought it was the ref's fault. They didn't blame Rocky at all.
Well, Tony's like, throw the damn towel.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Throw the damn towel. Let me train you.
I know. Poor Rocky, he was so conflicted because Apollo said, don't you dare. And everybody else is like, throw a goddamn towel.
Yeah, well, maybe Tony went back to the tapes and saw that Apollo yelled, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I just love the Dragos in this so much because, and I like this going back and forth, but Yvonne just confirmed what we were talking about earlier, that he thinks about this every day. This is his life. And people here love you. People here love you, and people hate me where I live.
Wow.
It makes perfect sense, right? This fight with Drago is as important as it was. It's just one of many of his epic fights. And Rocky's also accomplished things since the fight, both good and bad. There's him losing everything, but then there's him starting the restaurant. There's him going back into the ring with Dixon. There's all these things that have happened in Rocky's life since then and before that fight. So Drago is just one little thing. But Drago, was a one-hit wonder, essentially, with Creed, and then got humiliated in his hometown or home country. It had serious repercussions for his whole life. So, of course, it's like yesterday for him because it's like his shitty situation today is a direct result of what happened in 1985.
Imagine if he came and says, I got a proposition for you. I come here to sell my vodka, Siberian Express.
That'd be a fantastic vodka name.
The Siberian Express. I'm looking to distribute my vodka line. I thought Adrian was the place to start.
He's like, I want to share a restaurant. We can serve a mix of Italian food and some borscht and pierogi.
Borscht.
Yeah.
And
pierogies are good.
And we'll start in fries. If it fries, it fries.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And every time I make scrambled eggs, it'll be I must break you scrambled eggs. Okay, all right. That'd be fun, the Rocky Drago restaurant.
D, baby, it's a publicity stunt. Don't worry about that.
Yet, later that year, Balboa defeated Drago in his own backyard, Russia.
Because of you, I lose everything. Country, respect, life. You ever see stray dogs in the Ukraine? They go for days with no food. People spit on them, they have nothing. No home. Only will to survive, to fight. I have son. All he knows is this. My son will break your boy.
Been a long day. I think we're done here. Because around here, we put strays away.
It's good pictures.
Oof.
You want to point something out quick?
Of course, yeah.
There was a drink at that table.
Oh, there you go.
Looked like a glass of wine or something. And Yvonne technically committed a crime.
He didn't pay.
He didn't pay.
Crime don't pay. You know that, Kyle. Crime don't pay.
Crime don't pay.
A lot going in there, boy, when he says, in Russia, stray dogs, the way they survive his fight, he's a stray dog. He has to fight. His son has to fight to survive. And Rocky's comeback was very ominous. Well, here in this country, we put stray dogs away. That's the old Rocky. I mean, Rocky used to be a collector. I'm sure he that old Philly. You're going to throw down, you're going to throw down. I think Rocky was ready. I think there's a part of him like, I don't know if Drago's going to take a swing at me, but he was ready.
His face the whole time, and especially when Victor walks in and shows himself, he takes his hood off. There's a lot of things going on, but his face is concerned.
It's fight or fight. He was a little bit scared. Sure, he's got two big men in his restaurant. He doesn't know if he's going to get the crap kicked out of him.
He was concerned for Adonis. Game recognizes game. That's a theme in Rocky, right? The street tough. Going through hard times in your actual life makes you a better fighter. That's a big theme in Rocky 3, of course. Rocky 4, he's going outside and fighting and not in the pristine gym. That's a big thing in Rocky. And Drago calls it back saying, look, my son, he's hard. And that's all he knows. And he's going to crush your Silver Spoon Creed kid over there who maybe did some time in juvie or whatever, but he's been living pretty good for a long time now. Also, to any Ukrainian listeners, I want to point out that Drago said Ukraine and not the Ukraine. That really pisses off Ukrainian people. They hate it when people say the Ukraine.
Oh.
Yeah.
So he said it correctly then.
He said it right. Yeah.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah, a lot going on there. Of course, when he leaves, for our listeners who might not know, when Drago Ivan says "nice picture," he's pointing to Apollo. Oof.
The ultimate insult, or it's like a battle rap or something, like come at like.
Makes him seem like kind of a dick, right? Like in Rocky IV, it's like, you will lose. I must break you. And then you also kind of feel bad for him a bit when he's telling off the Politburo up top. So he's not that hateable.
He's angry.
But he's like saying this little dig like that, like nice picture, like rubbing salt in the wound. That's kind of a side of him you haven't seen before. He's spiteful. Like he turned bitter.
Well, he's angry. He's got 30 years of things welling up inside of him. He's seen the person that he hasn't seen since the ring, that he feels did this to him, even though it was his country that did it to him. It wasn't Rocky.
Yeah.
Like Rocky.
Good point.
Yeah, what a shitty wife, right? I lost my wife because of you. I'm like, what kind of spouse is that?
Well, I mean, Rocky did take her. Oh, no, I'm kidding. Rocky did marry her.
I just want to let you know I have banged you in real life. Just saying.
It is really interesting because how we're seeing the character unveiled. We feel so. I felt a lot for him.
What I like there too is just he's kind of playing the quote unquote bad guy, but I think he's venting. Because we know as the movie continues, our feelings on the Dragos change a little bit. But I think that's part of his getting closure, is maybe just to say what he has to say about what he's been feeling. He said it, got out of his system. He's angry, but I think the healing is coming.
True. But we feel for both of them. Like in that scene, like I liked both Rocky and Ivan.
Good point. Yeah, I know. I wasn't rooting against Ivan, and I was feeling bad that Rocky had like, oh my goodness, I have more stuff to feel guilty about. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I ruined your life. I
know.
Threw on
Poor
the towel.
Rocky.
I lost my wife to woman cancer. Like this poor guy, he's got a lot on his shoulders.
Him saying that nice picture thing ruins that for me, though.
That's a good point.
Like, as soon as he says that, I'm just like, fuck you. If he would have just left, I would have felt way differently about that scene, but...
Yeah.
That's a good point. That might have been... Or maybe when his son walked in, he realized why they're there. Or he's just doing that to get Rocky on board to fight his son.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Yeah.
It's a mixture of things, but you're right. Maybe he should have just said, oh, I see you've got his picture up there.
No, I think it was perfect that he said nice picture, because it was. Rocky, he needs to feel some type of way, get on board with something, or
but we'll
I don't
find
know.
out in a future episode if it worked. Yeah. We'll see if that dig worked.
Yeah.
We'll find out in a future episode. All right. Who wants to take us out on this one? Oh, before you do.
No, I think it's your turn, Kate. Or we'll just do it at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay, before you do, send us an email, gtdwithrr@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook. Become a patron. We'd appreciate that. It helps support the feed and just says, hey, thanks, guys, for your hours and hours of entertainment throughout the years. All right.
Ding.
Ding. Ding.
Ding.
So let's go there. Let's make our escape. Come on, let's go there. Let's ask and we stay.